In Nepal, a magnitude 5.6 earthquake leaves hundreds dead.
Authorities say survivors slept in tents after their homes were destroyed. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I'm Gian Alianes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Agriculture Chief Francisco Tola Jr. debunks a 20 pesos per kilogram of rice myth. The Philippines and Japan reach the golden age of bilateral ties. Russia test fires an intercontinental ballistic missile from one of its nuclear submarines. Ukraine's chief of staff slams the West over war fatigue as Zelensky invites former President Trump to Kyiv. And the New York City Marathon's record time has been broken once again. Oil price cuts are set to take effect tomorrow. Oil industry sources project that gasoline prices will drop by 45 centavos per liter. Kerosene price will be cut by 1 peso and 5 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, diesel price will be lowered by 1 peso and 10 centavos per liter.
The newly appointed Agriculture Chief Francisco Tola Jr. said the realization of 20 pesos per kilogram of rice price in the Philippine market is still not possible. He underscored that there are factors that would make the commodities price cut not feasible. This includes climate change, the El Nino phenomenon, and wars in other parts of the globe. Laurel added that the president instructed him to modernize, irrigate, fertilize, and use the right type of seeds to increase rice production.
An aspiration, diba? Ang problem now, we are in the 15-year high world market, diba? That is $230 per ton na isda sa Vietnam. Today is $700 per ton. So today that is not possible.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has announced that the implementing rules and regulations of the Maharlika Investment Fund, or MIF, have been finalized. The president added if the IRR is approved, a swift establishment of the corporate structure will take effect for the Maharlika Fund to start. In late August, the IRR of the Maharlika was first issued and was set to take effect in September. The MIF is seen to become operational by the first quarter of 2024.
The anticipated exit of Filipinos from Gaza last weekend did not push through over suspensions of the opening of the Rafah crossing. This is after an Israeli airstrike on an ambulance in northern Gaza. Gaza's health ministry said the attack claimed 15 lives while injuring 60 others. The Department of Foreign Affairs said a total of 46 Filipinos were supposed to leave Gaza in 2 batches via border to Egypt. On the other hand, DFA said more than 160 Filipinos in Lebanon are still waiting to be repatriated in the wake of escalating tension between Israel and Hezbollah. According to the agency, about 10,000 of the 17,000 Filipinos residing in Lebanon are undocumented workers. Meanwhile, the Department of Migrant Workers said 64 overseas Filipino workers from Israel will arrive in batches. In a press con late this afternoon, Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, Ilan Flus, said the Israeli government will support the family of Grace Cabrera, who is one of 4 Filipinos killed amid the tension between Israel and Hamas.
A Filipino radio anchor was shot and killed in his studio during a brazen attack witnessed by people watching the live program on social media. The assailant gained entry to the home-based radio station of Juan Jumalon, a provincial news broadcaster known as DJ Johnny Walker, by posing as a listener. During the live morning broadcast, the gunman shot Jumalon twice. After the shooting, the attacker took the victim's gold necklace and fled the scene on a motorcycle with an accomplice who had been waiting outside. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. strongly condemns the shooting and orders the national police to locate, apprehend, and prosecute the perpetrators. An ongoing investigation is working to identify the gunman and determine whether the attack was related to Jumalon's work.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines commits to bolstering the country's cyber warfare and territorial defense capabilities as it launches the 7th iteration of the AFP joint exercise Dagat-Langit-Lupa, known as AJEX Dagit-PA. AFP Chief General Romeo Bronner Jr. emphasizes that this exercise will evaluate the military's capacity to plan and execute joint operations across all domains. He urges the soldiers to approach this training with the utmost seriousness, highlighting the necessity to prepare for potential future adversaries. This year's AJEX Dagit-PA will involve more than 1,500 active soldiers and reserve forces from various branches, including the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Special Operations Command, and the Cyber Group Unit. The exercises will concentrate on territorial defense, maritime security, and counterterrorism, with the aim of improving tactics and procedures in a wide range of military operations.
The Philippine government is actively working on implementing measures that would enable the extension of electronic visas or e-visas for foreigners residing in the country. This initiative was announced by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. during a courtesy visit by Indian Ambassador Shambhu Kumaran to Malacanang Palace last week. The president assured the ambassador that they are addressing the request to extend the validity of e-visas for Indian nationals in the Philippines. Furthermore, President Marcos emphasized that these measures for e-visa extensions will not be limited to Indian nationals, but will also be extended to other foreign citizens in the country.
Timor-Leste President Jose Ramos Horta is scheduled to visit the Philippines on November 10th, with the aim of further strengthening bilateral relations between the two nations. President Ramos Horta's visit will encompass a wide range of cooperation areas, including technical, political, educational, and economic partnerships. Several Philippine government agencies, such as the Departments of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Industry, and Justice, among others, will be part of this meeting. On the sidelines of the 42nd ASEAN Summit last May, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reassured Timor-Leste of the Philippines' ongoing support for its aspirations to become a full-fledged member of the regional bloc.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has pledged to provide the Philippine Coast Guard with another 5 ships to enhance its maritime security capabilities. These 5 multi-role response vessels will be financed through official development assistance from Japan. This generous contribution comes in addition to the 12 ships Japan had already supplied to the Philippines. According to PCG spokesperson Armand Balilo, these new vessels from Japan will not only strengthen security in the West Philippine Sea, but also enhance maritime security along various coastal regions in the country. Furthermore, Japan has delivered the first unit of a long-range air surveillance radar system for use by the Philippine Air Force. This upgrade is expected to bolster the country's ability to detect, identify, and correlate any threats and intrusions within its exclusive economic zone.
Coming up, the Australian Prime Minister seeks to thaw out his relationship with Beijing. Ukraine sends a strong message to the West as Kyiv extends an invite to former President Donald Trump. And the world's democracy may be in a dire state. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa dami ng problema, parang ang hirap ng huminga, di ba? Minsan pakiramdam mo, hopeless na. Kaya dapat ihayag ang saloobin, himayin ang hinaing, alamin ang pwedeng gawin. Mag-reality check tayo.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. The Philippines and Japan reached the golden age of their relationship as the two nations reaffirmed it through a bilateral meeting. Vin Pasco reports.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has made his two-day official visit to the Philippines as he described the two nations' bilateral ties to reach the golden age. During his visit, Philippines and Japan signed key agreements on security, defense, and maritime cooperation in sustaining the vigor bilateral relationships between the two nations. Japan also vowed continued support to the Philippines' infrastructure development under the Marcos administration's Build Better More policy.
経済分野においては、マルコス大統領のビルトベタモア政策に基づき、ダルトンパスやマニラ地下鉄といったインフラ整備について引き続き官民挙げて支援していくことを表明いたしました。
Meanwhile, during an address at a joint session of the Philippine Congress, Kishida said Japan will help to enhance the country's security capabilities. This in the wake of the escalating West Philippine Sea tensions. Kishida underscored that the trilateral cooperation between the Philippines, the United States, and Japan will serve as the crucial point of security in the region. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in his part reaffirmed the diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Japan, which have been refined by democracy, respect for basic human rights, and the rule of law since its establishment.
While we continue to enhance our bilateral relations, I am pleased that the trilateral engagements at various fronts among the Philippines, Japan, and the United States have commenced. This started this year. I look forward to continuing this form of engagement and to expand it further to cover other equally important aspects.
Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
South Korea says it plans to launch its first domestically built spy satellite on November 30. The spy satellite will be carried by a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Seoul previously signed a contract with Elon Musk's SpaceX. Their agreement stated that South Korea would launch 4 more spy satellites by 2025. Seoul has no military spy satellites of its own. Experts say South Korea relies heavily on U.S. spy satellites to monitor moves by North Korea. U.S. spy satellites reportedly produced higher resolution imagery, but sources say there are times the United States does not share satellite photos with highly sensitive information with South Korea. For this reason, other analysts believe possession of its own spy satellite would bolster South Korea's 3-axis defense system against North Korea.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping met with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Beijing, marking a high point within their nation's ties following years of tensions that resulted in the cutting of billions of dollars in trade. Beijing is Canberra's biggest trading partner, but relations plummeted in 2020 after Australia's then-conservative government barred Chinese tech giant Huawei from certain telecommunications contracts, as well as calling for an inquest into the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. A furious Beijing then slapped punitive tariffs on a slew of Australian commodities, including coal, barley, and wine, as the relationship descended into a deep freeze.
There is, of course, also an important role for government to play in creating the right conditions for business to innovate and thrive and helping business take advantage of market opportunities. We do that by eliminating unnecessary barriers to trade and investment, by fostering a level playing field, and by working towards inclusive economic growth.
China has reversed its course since Albanese took power in May last year, lifting most of its restrictions on Australian goods and saying it wants healthy and stable ties. Ahead of their talks in Beijing, Albanese predicted a constructive discussion with Xi and said he saw promising signs that relations were improving.
And that is why the government that I lead will continue to work constructively with China. As the business people in this room understand so well, it is in all our interests to have a relationship where there is dialogue and cooperation.
Russia says it has successfully test-launched an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of carrying nuclear warheads from a submarine. The Kremlin says the test took place Sunday. Mark Castillo has the details.
The launch of the Bulava missile is the first in just over a year. The 12-meter-long missile has a range of more than 8,000 kilometers. It is capable of carrying multiple warheads. Moscow says the undersea launch occurred in an undisclosed location to a target thousands of kilometers away on the Kamchatka Peninsula. The test comes as Russia ramps up its nuclear rhetoric since revoking ratification of a key nuclear test ban treaty. The West has accused Moscow of using reckless nuclear rhetoric since it invaded Ukraine last year. Mark Castillo from Matandang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ukraine has initiated a criminal investigation following a missile attack on a group of soldiers during an award ceremony in the southern Zaporizhzhia region, not far from the front lines. This incident resulted in the loss of at least 20 soldiers. The Ukrainian Armed Forces acknowledged that the previous day, several soldiers from its 128th Mountain Assault Brigade had also fallen victim to a missile strike, although specific casualty figures were not provided. A Ukrainian military official says that senior brigade members may have violated military regulations by holding the ceremony in an open, exposed location. The investigation will likely focus on how Russia obtained information about the event and how they were able to carry out the attack.
Ukraine's chief of staff is calling on world leaders to stand with Ukraine, even amidst the added challenges posed by the Israel-Hamas conflict. The ongoing stalemate in Ukraine's counteroffensive has raised concerns about the possibility of a prolonged conflict in the region. Andrei Yermak, a close advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, firmly asserts that Kyiv refuses to accept a frozen conflict situation. He warns that complaining of war fatigue could have consequences not only for Ukraine, but also for the West. Yermak emphasizes that this narrative is being driven by Russian propaganda, aiming to undermine the determination of Ukraine's allies while the Israel-Hamas conflict captures global attention. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has extended an invitation to former U.S. President Donald Trump to visit Ukraine. This invitation comes in response to Trump's bold promise that he can end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine within 24 hours if re-elected in 2024. However, President Zelensky expressed skepticism regarding Trump's claim, asserting that he would only need 24 minutes to explain why Trump's proposal might not bring peace to the ongoing war.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has shown increasing frustration in recent weeks due to the witness testimonies that pose a significant threat to his organization's future. Trump, however, appears to be relatively satisfied with his overall legal situation, which includes various criminal cases progressing toward trial. His legal strategy, characterized by the familiar tactics of attacking and distracting, has yielded court victories that have bolstered his confidence. Trump has been transparent about his overarching legal strategy in his criminal cases, which involves seeking delays, ideally beyond the November 2024 election. His hope is that winning re-election would potentially give him the authority to pardon himself or instruct his attorney general to drop the charges.
Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah said that his militia has already engaged in skirmishes with the IDF along the Lebanon-Israel border, threatening to escalate further if Israel does not stop its advancement in the region.
اليوم ما يجري في غزة ليس حربا كبقية الحروب السابقة، وليس حادثا كبقية الحوادث، ليست معركة كبقية المعارك. هي معركة فاصلة حاسمة تاريخية، ما بعدها ليس كما قبلها على الإطلاق.
His statement comes as Israel's war with Gaza nears the one-month mark. Nasrallah's speech had been widely anticipated throughout the region as an indication of whether the Israel-Hamas conflict would spiral into a regional war. This statement has been very significant for the people of the Middle East, as this has been the first statement he has issued since war broke out between Hamas militants and the Israeli Defense Force. Nasrallah stopped short of announcing that Hezbollah would fully enter the war, a move that would have been devastating or have devastating implications for both Lebanon and Israel. The United States has warned Hezbollah and its patron Iran against entering the fray, sending warships to the Mediterranean to deter any outside interference. The Hezbollah leader further stated that Hezbollah was prepared for all options and that the fighting would not be limited to the scale seen so far. Hezbollah has fired rockets across the border daily, but it has a substantial arsenal capable of hitting anywhere in the landlocked country, as well as a sizable deployable force.
أما في جبهتنا اللبنانية نحن لأن البعض بيقول السيد بده يعلن عن دخول المعركة، نحن دخلنا المعركة من 8 تشرين أول. نحن دخلنا المعركة من 8 تشرين أول.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken makes a surprise visit to Baghdad following a trip to the occupied West Bank earlier in the day. Blinken and Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani are expected to discuss the risks of escalation in Israel's war with Hamas. Anna Kui has the details.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit has not been announced in advance for security reasons. His surprise visit comes after a brief stop in Cyprus to discuss a possible maritime aid route to Gaza. Since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, a series of rocket and drone attacks have targeted military bases hosting U.S. forces in Iraq. Blinken says the U.S. is not accepting these attacks. Blinken adds that the U.S. and Iraq share the same sentiment. Anna Kui from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Police used tear gas to disperse demonstrators headed to an opposition rally in the Madagascar capital of Antananarivo. The action comes just 2 weeks before the country's presidential election. Rosel Feria has the details.
The Indian Ocean island nation has been shaken by political violence for weeks. Incumbent President Andry Rajoelina is facing several opposition leaders. Opposition leaders have led near-daily unauthorized marches in the capital for more than a month. Police have systematically dispersed the demonstrators. On Saturday, police clashed with several hundred protesters and fired tear gas. They managed to disperse the crowd before it reached its gathering place. The United Nations has expressed concern over the deteriorating human rights situation in the country. Madagascar is among the poorest nations in the world despite having vast natural resources. Rosel Feria for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The former dictator of Guinea enjoyed a few hours of freedom on the weekend. A heavily armed commando broke him out of prison on Saturday. Arlene Campo tells us more.
The armed forces blocked off part of the capital of Conakry following the jailbreak in the West African country. Authorities recaptured Musa Dadis Camara after only a few hours on the lam. Early Saturday, gunmen stormed the prison where Camara had been held. It's unclear whether he had escaped of his own free will. Camara and 10 other former government and military officials are accused in a 2009 massacre carried out by security forces loyal to the then junta leader. The massacre started at a political rally in a Conakry stadium and continued for days after. More than 150 people died in the slaughter, and at least 109 women had been raped. Camara came to power in a December 2008 coup. He and his co-defendants are charged with several crimes, including murder. Arlene Ocampo from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A report published by the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, or International IDEA, says that nearly half the world's countries are seeing a drop in their levels of democracy. Crisan Fragata has the details.
International IDEA has been collecting data on democratic performance since 1975. Report co-author Michael Rooney says the recent 6-year downward trend is the longest democratic recession witnessed in that time.
So this is the 6th year that we've seen more countries with democratic declines than improvements. So this is the longest democratic recession that we have seen in all of the years that we have been collecting data.
Rooney warns that the decline trend in all measures of democracy is affecting every single region of the world. He says it's not just autocracies or countries where there's been a state of collapse or coups in sub-Saharan Africa. Rooney says declines are also seen in historically high-performing democracies in Europe and in Asia.
We've seen declines in countries like Austria, in Germany, here in Sweden, a decline in public participation in politics, South Korea, Canada, the United States. So there really is not any area of the world that has gone unaffected.
Crisan Fragata for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Up next, Iglesia Ni Cristo extends its help to those in need in the continent of Europe. Multiple international organizations make a collective call for a humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. And the tense situation in Hamburg airport ends after hours of negotiations. Matanang Agila International will be back after a short break. Don't go away.
Daza dito sa Net25. Ako si Sandy Daza.
At ako naman si Patty Daza, and we are the Cooking Cousins. Asahan nyo ang mas nakakatakam na mga recipes, mas malakas na halakhakan.
At tawag ko rito put-put eh.
Put-put. At syempre mga celebrity guests na game na game.
Express mo yun. Galing.
Kita-kits sa kusina. Lutong Daza, Saturdays, 11 a.m. sa Net25.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo's care for humanity comes into play as the church is consistently committed to support those in need, Filipinos and Europeans alike. This coincides with the church's 50th founding anniversary in Europe. Here's Daniel Pinnock for the story.
Homesickness, cultural gaps, and financial difficulties are some of the problems facing OFWs.
With 9% of all overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, working in Europe earning a living wage, relocating thousands of miles away from their families and homeland can be taxing.
Care for Humanity is a project spearheaded by the Felix Lamanalo Foundation. Its aim is to fight poverty, to help others struggling to meet their basic needs.
Not only it promotes love and camaraderie among Filipinos here in France and also abroad, but most especially it shows the love and concern of the Church of Christ, led by the church administration, to all peoples.
Recognizing this great relief to their fellow countrymen is the Philippine ambassador to France.
Kami nagagalak at very delighted to observe this clear manifestation of the Filipinos' bayanihan spirit na nakikita natin dito sa Pransya ngayon.
And in the ecclesiastical district of Northern Europe, care packages containing everyday necessities were distributed to residents in Budapest, along with live musical performances featuring original Iglesia ni Cristo music. These gestures allowed attendees to directly encounter the affection that abounds within the Church of Christ.
Mahirap ang buhay, tapos meron po akong 4 na anak, and kailangan ko pong i-support yung kanilang educational, financial, gano'n po.
Masayang-masaya po kami na nakatanggap kami ng ganitong bagay sa pangunguna ng Iglesia ni Cristo dahil sa kailangan din namin ito.
To the west, in the ecclesiastical district of Great Britain, this very same affection resonated with the guests, giving friends and neighbors the opportunity to learn more about the Church of Christ.
I was particularly impressed, very impressed, by the reach, how far the church is able to, reach out to people.
Simply because of the difficult times that's happening nowadays. It's one way of giving support and showing support to the needs, the basic needs of these individuals.
In the ecclesiastical district of Spain, care continues to be felt by OFWs in Barcelona.
Es bueno ver cómo esta comunidad se une para dar a quienes necesitan en tiempos de dificultad.
Along with the ecclesiastical district of Italy North.
Kami po ay natutuwa dahil ang mga kapatid po natin sa Iglesia ni Cristo ay hindi lamang po nagbibigay ng pangangailangan pang-espiritual, kung hindi nagbibigay din po ng pangangailangan pang-pisikal. Napakaganda po na sinasabuhay po natin, hindi lamang po natin sinasabi yung ating pong pagmamahal sa kapwa.
These were just some of the outreach events held in Europe, where many were able to feel a sense of joy and the love of Church of Christ members, welcoming them to experience the care constantly being extended to their fellow men. Brother Daniel Pinnock, from Paris, France, Lingap sa Mamamayan, special coverage.
On Sunday evening, the aurora borealis, commonly known as the Northern Lights, has graced the skies across Ukraine. According to the Bucha City Council, the Northern Lights were visible in places such as Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, and Kherson Oblasts. It has also reached Bulgaria for the first time, as well as countries such as Romania, Hungary, and Czech Republic. According to experts, the red sky seen was due to a geomagnetic storm. The phenomenon arises from the interaction of solar wind particles from the sun, where once they arrive, Earth's magnetic field guides these particles towards the regions. The unique colors of the auroras depend on the specific gas molecules in the atmosphere. Oxygen emissions create the characteristic green light, while encounters with nitrogen result in a striking red glow illuminating the sky.
Leaders of 18 United Nations agencies and nonprofit organizations have called for an immediate ceasefire in the Israeli-Hamas war, expressing their shock and horror at the mounting death toll the conflict has resulted in.
The past 3 weeks have provided devastating proof that disregarding the basic rules of war, international humanitarian law, is increasingly becoming the norm and not the exception.
The UN and NGO chiefs, including the leaders of UNICEF, UN Women, the World Food Program, the World Health Organization, and Save the Children, described the killings of both Israelis and Palestinians over the past month as horrific. At least 9,770 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed in Israel's bombardment of Gaza, and more than 1,400 Israeli civilians have perished due to the resulting exchanges.
There will be no peace in the region and in the world without a just solution to the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, including the end of the Israeli occupation. As we speak, and as you know, over 2 million Gazans, half of them children, are going through what my colleague Philippe Lazzarini has called hell on earth.
The UN and NGO heads called on all parties to respect their obligations under international humanitarian and human rights law, including to protect civilian infrastructure such as hospitals and schools and allow aid into Gaza, denouncing Israel's measure of denying Gaza any essential goods and services, as well as causing a communications blackout within the embattled enclave.
A humanitarian ceasefire, coupled, of course, with substantive delivery of humanitarian aid inside Gaza, can at least stop this spiral of death, and I hope that you will overcome your divisions and exercise your authority in demanding one. The world is waiting for you to do so.
U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders expressed his view that the country should use its aid to Israel as leverage to encourage a change in their military approach. Sanders stressed the importance of Israel targeting Hamas without causing harm to innocent civilians and called for an end to the bombings in Gaza. He criticized both Hamas and the Israeli government and called for a two-state solution to the ongoing crisis, although he did not specify a detailed path forward. Sanders also voiced support for former U.S. President Barack Obama's recent statements regarding the need for introspection and nuanced analysis in addressing the situation in the Middle East. German police say a man who took his 4-year-old daughter hostage at the Hamburg airport has given up without resistance. The 18-hour standoff came to an end Sunday afternoon following hours of negotiations. Thomas I. Likeness has that story.
A 35-year-old Turkish man has been arrested, and the girl is reported to be safe and unharmed. She'd apparently been abducted from the man's ex-wife after a custody dispute. Saturday evening, the man rammed his car through the security area and drove onto the apron where planes are parked. He fired 2 shots into the air and threw 2 burning bottles out of the vehicle. He barricaded himself and the child in the car at the foot of a Turkish Airlines plane. The man had demanded he be allowed to board the plane and fly to Turkey with the youngster. More than 100 flights had to be canceled and several planes had to be rerouted because of the situation. A psychologist negotiated with the man for several hours. No one suffered injuries during the standoff. Authorities evacuated all passengers from the airport. Thomas I. Likeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A mass shooting in Cincinnati left an 11-year-old boy dead and 5 others injured. Cincinnati Police Chief Colonel Teresa Titke said the driver of a dark sedan suddenly fired 22 rounds of bullets at the victims. 5 of the victims were under the age of 18. Titke said the injured victims are now in stable condition while others have been discharged. Cincinnati police are still investigating the case and looking for the suspect.
A car plows into a group of people in front of a restaurant in California. A white Honda CR-V was seen making a wide turn at an intersection in Santa Clarita. Police said 6 people were hit and sustained minor injuries. The car slammed into a wall of the restaurant's patio. Local officials said first aid was given to injured victims. Police officers were able to swiftly identify the driver and arrested 2 women.
A wildfire in eastern Spain has forced the evacuation of more than 900 people. The out-of-control blaze has chewed through about 2,000 hectares of forest. Percy Parlade tells us more.
Spain's firefighters on the front lines tried to tame the flames, but their efforts have been hampered by winds of up to 70 kilometers an hour. Those winds have also kept air support grounded, preventing water-carrying planes and helicopters from taking off. For now, no further evacuations have been planned, but officials say that could change if conditions deteriorate. The fire began last Thursday. Spain has endured several years of drought and above-average temperatures, making conditions ripe for wildfires. Percival Parlade for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Search and rescue efforts in Nepal wrapped up Sunday after a deadly earthquake struck the Himalayan country. The 5.6 magnitude quake left at least 157 people dead, Natalie Pichi reports.
The quake hit Nepal late Friday, reducing mud houses to rubble. Many survivors spent the night under the open sky in freezing temperatures. Finding shelter for these people and providing essential supplies is now the top priority. On Sunday, survivors prepared to say their final goodbyes to the victims. Nepal lies on a major geological fault line. Earthquakes are a common occurrence. People in New Delhi, nearly 500 kilometers away, felt Friday's tremor. Natalie Pichi reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, China and Russia are looking into speeding up the development of a new natural gas pipeline. Tech mogul Elon Musk marvels at the future of artificial intelligence. And a runner from Ethiopia makes history in the New York Marathon. Catch more news in business, tech, sports, and entertainment when we return.
Mga problemang may kinalaman sa pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Katiwalian at korupsyon sa kung saan-saan.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Kalusugan.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Edukasyon.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Hanap buhay.
Ano sa palagay niyo?
Ang daming issue. Samahan ninyo sina Ali Soto at Pat P. Daza sa pagbusisi sa lahat ng yan at iba pa. Ano sa palagay nyo? Year 3 na!
Expose, viral at exclusive. Mga reklamo at problema na napapanood at na-post sa social media. Ngayon, aaksyonan na rin ng Responde. Kaya kung meron po kayong nais ay sumbong, mag-text sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com. Pwede rin kayo magpadala ng mensahe sa ating pong Facebook page at Net25TV. Walang problema na hindi mabibigyan po ng solusyon. Basta't may agad na responde. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Dito lamang sa Net25.
What started with two teenage brothers with one shared passion for sneakers is now 10 years of growth and expansion. Let's join EJ Gonzalez in the U.S. East Coast while he explores this year's DC Got Soul.
Got Soul really started as two brothers with a dream. We lost our house in a house fire. We lost everything. We lived in a trailer for a year, and we were, little entrepreneurial kids that just wanted to make some money to buy some fresh shoes. I was 14 years old. Joey was 16. We went to a small sneaker event, and I guess ambitious 14-year-old me looked at Joey and I said, hey, why can't we do this? We'll put our own spin on it, make it cool and exciting. And we threw an event in a small little church in Boston. 200 people came, and the next 10 years have just been growth gradually of bringing Got Soul around the country and soon to be around the world.
In the age of social media, content creation has enabled people to turn their hobbies into careers, opening the door to opportunities for hopeful entrepreneurs to turn that passion into profit. But even before social media, sneaker culture created a platform for many to do just that.
We're here today at DC Got Soul. It is a buy-sell trade sneaker convention.
Ten years ago, Got Soul founders brothers Jonathan and Joseph de Maharlika took their passion and love for sneakers to the next level. But the de Maharlika brothers aren't alone. There are countless self-made businessmen and women that attribute their success and some even wealth to their love of sneakers.
The spectrum that we're in now, I feel like it's a lot. It is a 24-hour, 7 days a week type of situation. So our business is like eat, sleep, and breathe it.
I'm a business owner, and I want to pass that skill on to my son. Try to teach him, buy a shoe, and then you could possibly wear them once or twice, enjoy them, and then you can go sell them on eBay, and the retail value is still pretty high.
The fact that so many people, and young people as well, have used sneakers as a catalyst to start their business endeavors and entrepreneurial career is like such a beautiful thing to me as well. A lot of people I've seen over the last 10 years that have started coming to our shows, they bought a ticket the first time, then they got a vendor table, then they had 2 vendor tables, and then maybe they grew more and they have a store now, whatever it might be, and they stayed in that sneakers category. But there's a lot of people who have had 1, 2, 3 tables, stopped buying and selling sneakers, and now they have their own business in the tech industry or whatever it might be. Got Soul in the sneaker community can be a catalyst to teach people the business principles and how to hustle, how to really work hard. And those principles of not just being a good business person, but having a good work ethic and things that come along with that in general is a beautiful thing to me.
Today, social media and sneaker culture work hand in hand, making the possibilities seem endless.
Social media has exponentially grown our business. Since we posted the first video, we noticed right away the impact that it was having, and that's what pushed us to keep going and to get out of our comfort zone.
Post one day and you get 150 million likes. Like, don't dwell in that success. Like, you have to do it again tomorrow and then the day after.
While there are risks involved in any kind of investment or business venture, those in attendance today value something greater than the numbers.
Totally new to the sneaker community, but I decided it'd be a nice time to try something new and just see what it's all about.
Even from a business perspective, just to see brands come up and come big to what they are now, it's so interesting to learn and just take notes from it, I guess.
Well, growing up, I always loved shoes. I love Jordans. And then I had Trayson, and he's 13, and he's a sneakerhead now. And we're trying to get Annie to love shoes as well.
So much nostalgia, and I think that's a great reason why it pushes into the whole family line. Kids, parents, moms, dads, everybody just kind of goes for it because it's a timepiece type of thing for them.
We just come here as a family, as a hobby. We collect shoes, and actually Trayson sells shoes on eBay too.
Watching everyone grow and develop as business people, as individuals over the years has been exciting. Something that we've created could bring any family together at an event. It makes my heart warm knowing that that tradition is being carried on.
Got Soul!
Got Soul in Washington, D.C., EJ Gonzalez from Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Russia is teaming up with China to accelerate the launch of gas supplies along the Far Eastern route. The project between Russia's Gazprom and China National Petroleum Corporation involves the construction of a cross-border section across the Ussuri River. The new route will allow for the delivery of 10 billion cubic meters of Russian natural gas to China annually. Gazprom is also studying the possibility of supplying gas to China via the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline through Mongolia. Moscow and Beijing say they will start to construct in 2024. The additional route is expected to allow for the delivery of up to 50 billion cubic meters of gas annually. Trade analysts say Russia and China's partnership is effective. By selling more oil to China, Russia is able to counter oil embargoes from the West. China, on the other hand, benefits from discounts on Russian crude. Ex-owner Elon Musk predicts a future with AI would be an age of abundance with a universal high income instead of a universal basic income. Musk, however, warns of humanoid robots that might just run after humans. Rex Dulay tells us more.
Elon Musk speaks during a conversation with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. This following a world-first AI summit at Bletchley Park in the UK. In the one-to-one with Sunak, the SpaceX and Tesla CEO warns of a time when jobs are no longer needed. Musk says jobs instead would be just for those who want one for personal satisfaction. He cautions that people should be concerned about humanoid robots that can follow us anywhere. The tech billionaire underscores the importance of robots having a physical off switch.
Should be quite concerned about, because if the robot can follow you anywhere, then what if they just one day get a software update and they're not so friendly anymore? Then we've got a James Cameron movie on our hands.
The two-day gathering at Bletchley wrapped up Thursday with Western governments and companies involved in so-called next-generation frontier AI agreeing on a new safety testing regime. Rex Dulay from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Guardian reported that Meta's WhatsApp generates stickers that depict children holding guns when prompted with the term Palestine, sparking outrage among netizens. And Villanueva has the data.
When a user types in the word Palestine or any text related to Palestine on the app's AI-powered sticker generator, the results that come up are images of guns and even children's soldiers, like a boy with an AK-47 rifle. But when a user types in Israeli boy, or Israeli army, or Israeli Defense Forces, WhatsApp generates wholesome images of happy children or kids playing football. This issue with bias in Meta's AI models sparked angry response from netizens who condemn Meta and also professed trust issues on other AI systems such as ChatGPT. Meanwhile, The Verge reported that Meta spokesperson Kevin McAllister told the outlet via email that the company is addressing the issue and will continue to improve said features as more people share their feedback. Ann Villanueva, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ethiopia's Tamirat Tola has produced a new course record to win the New York Marathon, while Kenya's Helen Obiri claims the women's race. Tola crossed the finish line with a time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 58 seconds, shattering the old course record of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 6 seconds set by Jeffrey Mutai in 2011. Kenya's Albert Korir was second, while Ethiopia's Ashura Kitata was third. Tola will take home $100,000 in prize money, along with an additional $50,000 bonus for his course record. While Tola conjured a record-breaking run to claim the men's crown, the anticipated fast race in the women's event failed to materialize. However, Kenya's Helen Obiri registered a time of 2 hours, 27 minutes and 23 seconds, outlasting Ethiopia's Letesenbet Gidi in a thrilling sprint finish. Obiri proved the strongest as she finished almost 6 seconds ahead of Gidi and 10 seconds ahead of Sharon Lokedi in third. Obiri will receive $100,000 in prize money for her victory. The NYC Marathon, which is the biggest in the world, began in 1970. Back then, only 55 runners completed the race. Gary Mork became the first winner to ever cross the finish line, with Beth Bonner as the first woman to complete the marathon the following year. Prior to 1976, the race's course ran in multiple loops around Park Drive and Central Park. After 1976, the race changed course to include all 5 boroughs of Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen continued his winning habit with another victory for Red Bull after he triumphed in the sprint race at the Brazil Grand Prix. Red Bull's 3-time world champion came home 8.277 seconds ahead of McLaren's Norris at a packed Interlagos circuit. Behind them, Fernando Alonso snatched third for Aston Martin, just 0.53 seconds from Sergio Perez, who got second for Red Bull. Alonso and Perez provided a thrilling finale as they battled through the final laps before the Spaniard regained the podium position. 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton finished 8th for Mercedes after he ended the race in disappointment as his tires fell off in the closing laps. For Verstappen, it was his 52nd career win, lifting him one clear of 4-time champion Alain Prost on the list of all-time winners. The legal battle continued between Hollywood actor Robert De Niro and former employee Graham Chase Robinson on Friday in a Manhattan federal court. In 2008, Graham Chase Robinson, 41, was hired as an executive assistant to actor Robert De Niro and was eventually promoted to vice president. Robinson is now suing De Niro and his company, Canal Productions, for gender discrimination, claiming in her lawsuit that the 80-year-old Oscar winner had treated her like an office wife and described her tasks as similar to a housemaid's. She also claims that the actor had paid her less compared to a specific male employee. Robinson also complained of the actor's demeaning gender-based comments against her. Meanwhile, Canal Productions sued Robinson, accusing her of abusing her access to money and fame, citing examples such as improperly spending tens of thousands of dollars of company money on food, restaurants, car services, and other personal expenses. Both parties denied allegations slammed against them, and the jury will decide the validity of both sides' claims at the same time.
And it's Monday again, the beginning of a brand new week. Here's a quote from renowned Russian writer Leo Tolstoy. Once we are thrown off our habitual paths, we think all is lost, but it's only here that the new and good begins.
I think I saw it on social media. One of my friends was talking about how everything can just be taken away from you just like that in a blink of an eye. But I think that's when we actually come to realize we have to appreciate the now and also look forward to the future.
And sometimes we become too dependent on our habits, that they become super deep-seated.
Yes.
I think when we try to throw away one habit that sticks, I think it's the beginning of something new, and it might be something great.
And hopefully a bad habit is what
Hopefully a bad habit.
Hopefully a bad habit. Hopefully that inspires you this Monday. That's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Rich Hielago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International World and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.